Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to hopefully change your life. We're going to be learning the maamer Yehuda Atah, and then in Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to be going to learn the maamer of Basel Gani. The first maamer the Rebbe said, beautiful maamer, a lot of good, beautiful ideas that we should all learn and understand. Okay, Yehuda Atah. This is the maamer that the Rebbe said in his room. This was after the Rebbe had a heart attack. So he was, I guess he wouldn't. So he said in his room in this. So the maamer was said on Sarbat Tevis, which is beautiful maamer, very famous maamer. And basically, so the maamer we'll discuss it outside and we'll get into it. It's not so long; shouldn't take more than this whole week. The maamer goes basically explained like this: Yehuda is this level of Yehudah, which is a bittul, which we're going to discuss. And the way that comes about is through his brothers, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, which we discuss that essentially we're going to discuss what it means in terms of our own avodah, like for ourselves. And also the Rebbe talks about it in terms of davening, how this is the process of davening to get to this level of this Yehudah. This Yehudah is this submission, is total connection to God. And it's a beautiful maamer, a lot of beautiful ideas. And it's brought out short, like in very condensed, but we're going to expand on it and bring it out. Just a quick story before we start. I was watching this video, the interview that a guy was interviewing Yossi Jacobson, and so I know this person a little bit. I don't know him like personally, but I've seen in the past. He's made videos. He makes videos. He's from. Doesn't matter where he's from. He makes videos. He's out Lubavitch, and he makes videos online like about Judaism. It's like a shlichus type of thing. And so one of the things he was asking Yossi Jacobson is that he's like about the connection between Hashem and a person. And so Yossi Jacobson was trying to talk to him, referring about it, how precious it is, how you can see it. So he goes, but sometimes he struggles. He goes, this is something that he struggles with. Does God really care? Really? And he said, how do you turn? Basically, he was asking, how do you turn to God when the struggles of life come? Because he was saying that to himself. He's like, God doesn't really God really cares about my little issues. And he felt like the disconnect. He said, I agree God exists because I've intellectualized it, but the practical, day-to-day life and my life, does that really matter to God? And does God really care about that? So I heard that and I was shocked because I've seen him before, his videos, and he knows, he learns, he's not ignorant or something. So how could he come? He's not ignorant and he knows how to learn and he comes to such conclusions. Especially he's like an ambassador for Judaism. It was very confusing to me. And so I was thinking about it and I realized it's because, unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to learn Chassidus. And what we're going to learn here is we're going to discuss it. And we're going to see how this mistaken identity doesn't really exist if you learn Chassidus. And of course, meaning not just learn it, but you actually apply it and you really internalize it, which is of course the challenge of the hour. Okay, so in this book, it's page 21. We'll go straight into it. This was a Tuesday night. It was Monday night, Tuesday. Pashas Vayechi, last week's Pasha. Asar B'Tevis, 10th of Tevis. Yehafich v'Simcha v'Chadrei, transformed to happiness in the Rebbe's room. Tafshin Lamed Ches, 1977 probably. And this is the Hanacha. Yehuda Atah, Yiduchachecha. It says in the pasuk, Yehuda, your brothers will acknowledge. This is the bracha that Yaakov is giving brachas to all of his kids before he passes away in Pasha B'Yechi. And so he says to Yehuda that your brothers are going to acknowledge you. So the Alter explains in the beginning of Pashas Vayechi, Yehuda hu Hashem hapam oides Hashem. Now, the name Yehuda, where did it come from? Because when he was born, Leah said, now I'm going to give thanks to Hashem. So who b'chinas Hoida, which is this level, it's an idea What does that mean? It means it's Yehudah, it's a recognition, it's a thanks to Hashem, and that we all have this level. And we're going to discuss in the mind what this level really is. But this is a deep level. In order to be able to reveal this level of Yehudah, it's through the brothers. It's like Yehuda, Atah, now your brothers will acknowledge you, meaning that it's coming through the brothers, brings us to this level. Now, who's the brothers of Yehuda? It's Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, Ha'achim, Yehuda, they're the brothers, they're his older brothers. And through the brothers, we're going to explain what this means. This is the simple pshat, and we're going to explain what it means according to Chassidus. So his brothers are the ones that came before him, and they're the ones who bring about this level of Yehuda. And this is what it means, your brothers will acknowledge you. Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, they cause. What does it mean they will acknowledge you? It means they will cause this level of Yehudah, this recognition, acknowledgement of Yehudah. That they will bring it out to be able to reveal this level. So there's a level of Yehudah that we all have within inside of us, and through our, so to speak, brothers of Reuben, Shimon, and Levi, which we're going to explain what that means, and really we're going to discuss it in terms of davening, and how does it have this Yehudah? So explains over there. Alter explains Reuven and Shimon. What's Reuven and Shimon? Who in base parashas the Kriya Shema. It's the two parashas of Kriya Shema. That's Reuven and Shimon. And Levi who in emes v'yatziv. It's the part of davening called emes v'yatziv that we say after davening. We say after Shema. She'achar Kriya Shema. By Yedei Zeh, that through this emes v'yatziv and Shema and the two pesukim of Shema. By Ma'achakach l'Shmon Esrei. Then we come to Shmon Esrei. B'chinas ha'Yehudah v'abitul b'chinas Yehuda, which is the level of Shmon Esrei is the level of Yehuda. So essentially, what he's saying like this: in davening, Yehuda is synonymous with Shmon Esrei. Shmon Esrei is when you're standing in front of the king. It's that oneness you have with Hashem. That if we put in the effort and the time to pay attention to what we're doing, that's at Shmon Esrei is the time when we should be feeling that we're in front of the king. And we learned about actually tefillah, you have to do it. You should do it in his bonus, his bonus. Meditate upon the fact that he's standing in front of the king now. You imagine being in the king's palace and he's standing there and he's talking to him. So when that happens, you have this submission, total elevation, and feel yourself totally in front of the king. But in order to get to that level, to really feel that oneness, that closeness to Hashem, that you're totally part of Hashem, you have to have that preface of Shema, the two parts of Shema, and Emes V'Yatziv. And we're going to discuss what those mean in terms of Veda. So we can understand this level on the macro and the micro, meaning on the daily and also the life journey. And that's what we're going to discuss. Base. Yeah. So the explanation is, let's understand this a little bit better. As Alter explained in Torah, so now we're going to discuss how do we get to this level of Yehuda. So what's Reuven? When Reuven was born, Leah said, Kira Hashem ba'ini, Hashem saw my affliction. Why? Because she wasn't the loved wife. She wasn't the wife that he was officially wanting to marry Yaakov. But she said, now that I have a child, so Hashem sees what's going on and he's helping me. So that's Re'iyah, seeing. The Shimon, and what's Shimon? Al Shem ki Shama v'geim Shimon. His name was Shimon because she said Hashem heard. So you have Re'iyah and Shmiya, hearing and seeing. So what does that mean in terms of serving God, hearing and seeing? Within, like for all of us. This Reuven, which is seeing, it's not that you recognize that you should connect to God. Like this guy was saying in the story. He said that I understand intellectually that God exists. That's not what Reuven is. It's seeing. Hainu, meaning, what does it mean that you see because you see godliness? The recognition of the truth of godliness. It's 100% certain. Hainu, meaning, like you see something, you see it, then it doesn't make any sense any other way. Because you saw it yourself. It's meaning like this. When you see something, and he explains it here, That it's like a difference when you see something versus someone who told you something. Someone told you a crazy story, and your friend told you the story. Now, the way you understand it, the way you hear it, and it could make total like you hear it and your friends, so you trust them. It could be a crazy story, but ultimately, you don't like your level of appreciation and connection to it is not as great as your friend that it actually happened to him. That he saw it. For example, I had the perfect example of this. Like I think it was last year. I was walking home from shul Friday night with Leivik, and there was a truck that drove past. It was like picking up um, the shopping cart. And he goes to me, he goes, why is there a Polish driving shopping cart like driving a truck on Shabbos? I saw the truck as well, and I saw the guy in the truck. It didn't look to me in any way Polish. I guess probably maybe had looked like he had pace or something. I don't know what Leivik saw. And I was like, it can't be. So he was like, but he was certain. He's like, no, but I saw it. I was trying to explain to him that it's impossible. Like Mamela, he was driving a car. I could say maybe it was like a tall something, the lights on. There was nothing. It was just a random car. Like it clearly wasn't. But he saw it, and when you see it, it's obvious. It's certain, even though it doesn't have to make sense. Even though it wouldn't necessarily make sense, but I saw it. And this is the Riyah. When you have this connection of godliness in the level of Riyah, you see godliness. It's real. It doesn't have to even make sense always. It's like the story you could say. It's sort of mainly the story that I heard Rahela said on Yutis Kislev that there was a famine in Russia, in communism took over, and suddenly, how things work in communism. So it became a famine, and they didn't have any money, and they didn't have food. There was no kosher food around. So people were eating on kosher. There was no, you had to eat. You were like starving. So there was a chassid that he refused to eat on kosher. And people told him, what do you mean? You have to eat. He koch nefesh, and he refused, and ended up, and he died. He didn't eat because you could say because his godliness, his connection to Hashem was so real, so re'iyah, such a level that it couldn't be any other way. So the end of the story goes that even though he passed away, all these kids stayed from. Whereas all the other people that they ate non-kosher, all the kids didn't stay from. Not all of them, but some of them, not all of them stayed from. But what he had, you could say, is this re'iyah. It's connection to godliness. It's so real. It's so apparent. It's no question by me. That's the re'iyah. And how do you do this in serving Hashem? How do you do it? This is sort of the answer to this kid's question. Yossi Jacobson is when you contemplate on hashgacha pratis. He ba'ifin the staklus in a way of seeing mis ames. That's like iluhu roya b'riya chushis mamish. It's like you see godliness in a very clear way because of course you can physically see godliness, but when you contemplate on the hashgacha pratis and you see how your life, all these little things that happen to you are divine providence, and they're not just haphazard, but you see how everything connects. And everything, and it takes some meditating on it and thinking about it, but you'll see things happen to you that are not just random acts, but they're really divinely ordained. Then godliness becomes very real to you. So from this seeing, and that brings you to love Hashem, that you recognize that God is in my life and God is intimately involved in every aspect of my life, which was the problem that this kid was having, that he's like, really, God? What he didn't have is his brain. He didn't have the re'iyah. He didn't have the thinking about the concept of hashgacha pratis and how God is there in every single aspect of his life. And if you put in the effort, I can tell you from my own experience that you see it. And there's plenty of things that happen in my life, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more obvious it becomes. Now you can always say, the apikuros within us say, oh, just by chance, and it's true you can say that. But if you look at it logically, it doesn't make sense by chance. At least that's my experience that I've seen. Yeah, like it says, Gabe Kriya Shem Ruvain, Kira, like it says in regards to Reuven's name, Hashem saw Kira, meaning Ki Ati Avani, and now you love me. So we see that the Re'iyah brings about the love. And this is related to the first part of Shema. Like we say in Shema, you should love Hashem your God. That through saying Shema and through thinking about meditating on the hashgacha pratis and recognizing in life how everything is divinely ordained, that everything happens by hashgacha pratis, not just random acts, but everything happens in a very specific way. and you'll be able to tap into that and recognize that will bring about a love to Hashem. To be continued tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll discuss Shima and Shmiya, which will bring back to the fear of Hashem, and then we'll talk about maybe the day after, but what does it mean, Levi? To be continued.